Welcome back to Newish, a video PD series on how to teach newcomer students in your classroom. They may be new to us, but they are not new to learning. This week, we'll be discussing the 3 Gs: grit, growth mindset, and global connections. Before we dive into today's objectives, I want to take the time to shout out some inspiring educators. Shout out to Miss Scott, who has 2 sections of student work on growth mindset. Additionally, her and Miss G have a bilingual word wall that is not too overwhelming as it has only the academic language for their current module. On top of that, there's the bulletin board titled What Does It Meme? Using memes in both English and Spanish of our school's character traits. I also want to take the time to recognize Miss Wyatt, who provided bilingual expectations for her science lab. After presenting them to the class, she even gave students the opportunity to translate orally at their tables. I felt like I was in a dual language science class. Bravo to Miss Scott, Miss G, and Miss Wyatt for using students' native languages in their classrooms. In today's episode, we'll discuss how to show students the power of their grit and how to use it. We'll review ways to encourage growth mindset with teachers and students and how to integrate global connections into your school and classroom. You may be wondering, Carlota, why aren't you teaching us how to teach them? Paciencia, guys. Acquiring a second language takes time. If your mindset, your classroom, or relationships aren't established primero, what you teach or how you teach no vale nada. It won't mean anything. Trust the process. The concept of grit can be defined as firmness of mind or spirit, unyielding courage in the face of hardship or danger. It is suggested from Carroll to share this definition with students and begin a classroom discussion. Students can relate to this definition. This gives you, the teacher, the opportunity to highlight the grit they already possess in your classroom. You can then use these examples to continue motivating your students. For grit, we're going to discuss these 3 things: passion, persistence, and motivation. We must remember that students may not have had the opportunity to attend a quality school or an investment in their education when they come to us from other countries. With us, they have the opportunity to develop a passion for learning. I'm sure some of you are wondering, what if they don't have a passion for learning? Then it's our job to help them find their passion. What will they do when they leave your school is a question secondary teachers should ask their students. That's what you're preparing them for, their real world. It's easier to develop that passion for learning with younger students than older students, but older students still have their advantages. Older students can more easily grasp potential outcomes, understand metacognitive strategies, and see how learning can be accelerated through their effort and their own actions. So, in reality, the older the students, the more you can capitalize on their maturity levels as a global learner. Older students also have more of an urgency. Now, they are in a country that values education, where previously they may have been old enough to get a job without going to school. Now they may need that schooling to access new opportunities. This sense of urgency can drive their awareness and value of grit to complete their academics. Here are 4 ways to encourage growth mindset. Do not limit a student's desire to learn. Sometimes we limit our students to their zone of proximal development, but with scaffolding and support, students can easily exceed our expectations, let alone their own. We can even start with those scaffolds and pull them away after time, and they'll continue to succeed because of the modeling the scaffolded provided them. If you're WIDA State, this means going above and beyond students' can do statements. Be ready with resources. Mindset and grit by themselves is not enough. We have to have resources ready, like appropriate reading materials, native language resource support, instructional technology, and extra learning opportunities for students to close their gaps. Miss Wagner shared an app called Scan and Translate that she's been using with her students. Use visual examples where students can see themselves as successful scholars. There are lots of examples of refugees or immigrant students that have overcome challenges and made a difference in our world. Those challenges have led them to a successful life. Take, for example, the story of Malala. She was almost killed for being a female and going to school. Now she tells her story and has become an educator herself. I really enjoyed using Scholastic Action, a monthly magazine that always has stories of students and the hardships they've overcome. This resource always includes a video to build background knowledge and 3 different level texts. I have found in the past that students really love this magazine and I've seen academic growth. Explicitly teach metacognitive strategies. Teach the process of learning. Understanding how we learn fosters independent learning and fuels a growth mindset. Ask students to consistently explain their thinking. Start out by laying out thinking processes for students. Your modeling will help students lead to independence. A child's desire and motivation and mindset supersede almost everything. If you want to do something, you'll go the extra mile and you'll put in more effort. There are newcomer and SIFE students who choose to stay in high school until they're 22 because they are so grateful for the opportunity to learn, and they have that right. But this last sentence doesn't just apply to our students. There is no doubt that teaching newcomers and SIFE students is a challenge. It will require extra time, extra work, and extra patience. But maintaining a growth mindset about your students and about your teaching is essential. Your students will grow if you believe they can. You must believe in them and yourself as an educator. Additionally, it's going to take more than just one person to help these students grow. It's a collaborative effort between you, content teachers, EL teachers, instructional coaches, and administrators. The reward to see these students grow or succeed is awe inspiring. We've seen students come in upper grades and get full ride high school scholarships to graduating high school to become pre med students. The possibilities of success from your growth mindset and instilling a growth mindset for your students is limitless. Global connections. We see newcomers and SIFE students as new, diverse, interesting additions to our classroom and the community. It's the same way we see international exchange students. As culturally responsive teachers, we have the opportunity to integrate these students into our culture and influence native English speakers to view our SIFE and newcomer students as a benefit and unique addition to our lives. Besides language, these students bring cultures and perspectives that will deepen and influence learning for their native English and American peers. In turn, this gives us the opportunity to create global learners. We want to create global learners so that they are prepared for work in the 21st century. Carol makes a great connection that we encourage our American students to take trips abroad for these global learning opportunities, but our students have these opportunities in their schools and in our communities that don't require a passport or getting on a plane. All it could possibly take is a step in your classroom. This kind of mindset can encourage all students, immigrants, and Americans to be world changers. This week's challenge is to help you connect with the experiences of your newcomers or SIFE and SLIFE students. It is a structured conversation with other teachers that helps us identify how we may have similar experiences to our students, giving us the opportunity to make global connections. Here are stems that you can use to help facilitate conversations. Here are some personal examples. Some names have been changed to protect students' privacy. I am similar to Jorge in that my skills in English literacy helped me acquire a second language literacy in Spanish. An experience I had in common with Marie was when I went to school, I had no choice but to learn English because no one else spoke Spanish in my school. Marie was the only EL student that spoke French. A goal I have in common with Yesenia is to change legislation so immigrant students can attend college with in state tuition. I wish I had been able to provide bilingual therapy for Oscar after he shared with me the trauma he went through in his home country, the reason he was here. Those are some examples based on my personal experiences. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, try to get your hands on these 2 books. You can reach me on Twitter at Carlota_Holder, or my emails have been provided. See you next week. Best of luck with this week's challenge. Please use hashtag I saw myself and hashtag newish when responding to this week's challenge.